because there were people trying to talk. You can hear in the background people at tables like trying to have a conversation. And this woman, if you can't sing like Aretha Franklin, don't pretend that you can.
Yeah.
Because when you're loud and you're big and you hit the bad notes, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, they're singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right? And out of nowhere, Brian, after the second chorus, there's like a horn section and where'd that come from? It's all tracks, and Mark's like, you don't pretend, and he had this great idea. He's like, LED wall behind the stage, and when the band comes in, kabuki drop, and it's the Muppets playing the fucking the instruments, like play into it. Don't.
Welcome back to Backstage Banter. This is Brian Runyon with my co-host Jay Sheehan, and today we have a very special guest, Miguel Morais, and he is joining us all the way from São Paulo, Brazil, and we're just having some good backstage banter, and we talk about a lot of different things, from working internationally and translations and working with different cultures. So yeah, come join us on the conversation, and we're going to jump right back into it. So we hope you enjoy. Join the conversation by leaving us a comment or send us an email at backstagebanterthepodcast@gmail.com and send us your disruptive innovations or podcast ideas. We would love to hear from you.
And that'll be better than any marketing thing that you could do. And then next year, it's that optic. It's all about the optics,
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, enough of this. Let's get down to...
Sounds like I'm coming to San Diego at some point.
Yeah.
Where are you now?
I am in São Paulo, Brazil.
You're kidding, and the phone sounds so good.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wow, crazy.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah, well, just chilling here.
What's your favorite bumper music, sir? What do you want to hear for your play on music?
I have a very peculiar taste for music, Jay. All right. Have you ever heard about Gábor Százbó, a guitar player from Hungary back in the 60s or 70s?
No, but I want to.
Yeah, I've been listening to him a lot lately. Well, I've listened to him a lot for a long time, but lately I've been listening to the album called Dreams. It's beautiful. Also, the other album is called Bacchanal. It's beautiful as well. But I've been listening to some weird stuff, Let me check the name. I don't even know the name of the guy. But the name of the
link.
Yeah, the name of the song is Disco Nails.
No way. Disco Nails?
Disco is Nails.
Oh my gosh. Very cool.
Listen to that. They talk something about San Francisco, where the parties are off the trail. It's
I'm trying
fun.
to track down a guy named Antonio Laranco. He was we were in Cozumel on a dive trip, and he was in the back of the restaurant, and he was ripping on the classical, guitar, like Pink Floyd, like ripping. Yeah, it was so awesome. And all of a sudden, you're like, wait, is that Led Zeppelin? Is he doing a Led Zeppelin song? And Antonio Laranco. So I want him to play at the club.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up.
I've been listening to some old reggae ska music as well. Ska Lights.
Man.
Yeah. I found some Bob Marley songs. What's the Stick Fingers? Them. Yes.
You like Stick Figure? Yeah, man, they're awesome. Their last album is so good. Dance the night away, burn the night away, let the music play. You know who else is really good that I got into again is I like Sting, but when the Police were together, when he was with the Police, and that kind of ska in their early days of that stuff was so good, man, so good.
Yeah, I like some songs from California as well. Red Hot Chili Peppers and Sublime. Sublime is from California, aren't they?
Yeah. I worked with Sublime last summer. In fact, they came on the tour with Sublime and my fucking brain. I can't remember a show I did last year.
A lot has happened in a year, Jay.
A lot has happened in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I know, seriously. Miguel and I were talking on the phone like last week or whatever, a couple weeks ago, and we started talking about like how like people in different cultures, different countries call things different names, like stage management stuff or theater things, and just like this translation idea, like you were just talking about how that got translated from English into into Portuguese. I thought that was a good transition to just kind of jump us off into talking about working in like different cultures and with people who don't speak the same language natively, and just kind of like what kind of things you run into with, working internationally.
The terminology in general,
so, Miguel, you've worked in a lot of international settings. You've been working on cruise ships. You've worked on things that are in a lot of different countries and European countries, and you're from Brazil. So, can you kind of just talk about like what that's been like?
Well, I started working on cruise ships back in 2009, something like that. It was fun, and then I thought I would never come back. So no, this shit's too really. I'm not coming back. I'm gonna find a job in Brazil, and that's it. Then I was working municipal theater, the biggest opera theater in Brazil, as an assistant producer. It was really fun. The terminology was all different, walking on the stage and people saying the names, like the wings are. I don't even remember the terminology in Portuguese because I worked not too much on stage and on here in Brazil, so it's all different. And very often I had to ask the guys, "Sorry, what are you talking about? What is coxia? What is I don't know, very different names." And I was kind of off the grid, like this is different, and I was struggling a little bit. And then I went back to work on cruise ships, and all the terminology in English is pretty standard, which is beautiful because everywhere you go, they use the same terminology. But when you come to Brazil, in Portuguese, it's all different and a bit tricky. And then I was doing this rigging job a few weeks ago here in Brazil, and we had to set up like the rope system to fly a person from stage left towards center stage, and he had to go smoothly going down to landing on the center of the stage, and it was like 7 hours set up for the system just for like a 2 minutes flight. And well, lots of work, but nice stuff. And I had to walk up in the ceiling of the theater, which they have a different name here as well. I don't remember, but I was still struggling a little bit, like fuck these guys. It's very, very different terminology. I can't say that, and I won't lie. It's way better to work in English. I was saying stuff in English to the guys, and they don't speak English. They barely speak English, and they were like, "Dude, I don't know what you're talking about." And then I had to, I don't know, get a piece of hardware and say, "Oh, this one, figure 8." And the guy, figure 8.
Interesting.
We call it piranha, shit like that,
Yeah. Well, my brain is going because I did my first European tour in 2022. I took the Alonzo King Lines Ballet through Spain, France, Italy, Serbia, and Austria, but none of the big cities. And like Pordenone and Aix-en-Provence. I love saying Aix-en-Provence. And the same thing, and I am as white as they come, man, and I speak English, and I live 5 minutes from Mexico, and I really should have been paying more attention to Spanish, right? And and it's almost like I feel selfish, like I feel like I'm the American and you will speak English, and that's shitty. You know what I mean? To have expectations, especially when you're on the road and you go into somebody else's house in their own country. Like I had to check myself, right? But my question would be, first off, you know how we have the traditions like the ghost light and the don't whistle and don't say the Scottish play. Are those also traditions around the world? Is the ghost light the same? Don't say the Scottish word? Do they give a shit whether you say the Shakespeare word or do they spin around and throw salt over their shoulder like we do here? The crazy shit to get the demons out. And all that. What are the traditions when you're on the road too? Like, and how do you honor those? I guess would be.
Well, I stick to the traditions pretty much, but the life on cruise ships in the theater is different.
Very different.
They have different traditions, for example, and. Like whistling in the theater, I never do that. It sounds like it's bad luck. I have some,
But do you know why?
I can't recall exactly, but something about the guys rigging in the
that's correct.
sailing
In the
boats.
ships, if you whistle the wrong signal, they could drop something. You know what I mean? And it lands on like the danger, because they're very specific, like what they would whistle. Right? They would be three short whistles meant this. So if you didn't do that, I guess it was dangerous. So when you get into the theater and you start whistling, I guess that was part of it. But break a leg, and where did that come from? Does anybody know the real story?
Oh no, I heard once, but I don't remember.
So what it was, I think, back in vaudeville. So the legs are the fabrics on the side, right, that make the entrances in the wings. So if you didn't get shit thrown at you like tomatoes and shit, and you walked off the stage and people were clapping for you, you would walk back out on the stage for another bow, and in doing so, you would break the plane of the leg, right? You would go through the leg to get out back on stage. So they would say break a leg, meaning best wishes so that you can get more applause. Yeah. It was the story.
Yeah. And you know how we say break a leg in Portuguese or Spanish, Italian. It's a totally different tradition.
Right?
We don't say break a leg in these Latin languages. We say shit, literally.
Yeah. Same thing in ballet. You say that for ballet as well.
In ballet, when you speak in English, you say shit as well, or just other languages? Because I never heard that in English.
Well, you're talking about for ballet?
Oh, in general, ballet, musicals, or concerts.
In ballet, I mean, they just say merde, which is the French word for shit.
Merde, right?
Shit, yeah.
Merde in French, in Portuguese, it would be merda.
Yeah, same.
And for symphony, it's like toy, and that means something else. Yeah. And if it's a male or a female, right? Maestro,
maestro.
Bravo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Be, aware of all that stuff.
And when it's a couple of people, it's bravi, because it's the plural in Italian. Yeah, it's cool. And in Australia, they say chucos, something like that. Yeah.
You know what I do? And no matter what country I'm in, I'm like, when they come, fuck yeah. That's what I do.
Yeah. I try to stick to it. Like break a leg, or depending on the cast, just say mierda, mud. Yeah, it's fun. I think people get happy when they go on stage. It's a good vibe.
I do too. Yeah. What about the green room? Is that an American? Like, what is the green room? The green room all around the world.
Oh, I haven't heard about that one. What
so
would
the green
that be?
room is okay. In our theater, the green room is the space where all of the actors can congregate, either at the intermission or before they go on stage. It's the space. It's a separate room. They call it the green room. The only explanation I heard was that they called it green because when the actors would get nervous before they went on stage, they would go in and they would vomit in there or something. Yeah, and green. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. Yeah,
that's a very curious thing as well. Some artists they have kind of these traditions that they feel bad before going on stage, then they just puke or do something like that, and they're fine. I just had a guy on my last cast now, handstand guy, very good one from Venezuela, and he had this thing. He 5 minutes before showtime, he had to go to the bathroom and number 2 it, every time. And, sometimes he had to start it late because he had to do it. And that was his timing. Yeah. It's crazy, man. And if he didn't do that, his handstand would be really bad.
Oh,
shit
my
like
gosh.
that,
And what about you, Miguel?
Really good.
What about you? Do you have any traditions, any superstitions that you personally do that nobody else knows about until you're going to tell us now?
I like to listen. I like to listen to some songs before, 2 songs specifically, before going to work, just to get the vibe rolling. But it's like songs that doesn't have much with it. It's like Black Sabbath and AC/DC. But I don't even remember the name of the song. It's in my playlist.
War Pigs.
I think it's War Pigs.
Oh, that's Iron Man.
Yeah.
Oh man,
love Ozzy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Iron Man. Yeah.
Paranoid.
Oh, Paranoid. Excellent song.
Yeah.
Excellent song.
Yeah, and AC/DC is just Thunderstruck, You know, just listen to.
Yeah.
It's been so long that I do that. That
Yeah.
is just kind of natural. It just puts me in the mood to go and do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, in my last job in the ship, I was doing show calling, and it was really fun. And I used to do that before going to the theater, so nobody knew it.
Yeah.
I think I've been doing that for so long that I don't even speak about that anymore.
Oh man, listen! If you listen to Ozzy Osbourne, if you like Sabbath, right? Did you listen to Ozzy when he was a solo artist? And his new guitarist was Randy Rhoads, was the guy's name. Who that guy shredded and was on his way to be the best guitarist like ever. He was 21, 22. He was in a band called Quiet Riot in Los Angeles, who I worked for, and they played my 12th grade, graduation dance. And this guy came out on stage, and I was doing lights for him, and I'm like, who is that guy? Unbelievable. He made Eddie Van Halen look like, but then fucking around, him and one of the bus drivers got into a private plane because the guy had a pilot's license, the bus driver did, and they said, let's go buzz Ozzy's bus, and they hit a wire, and they died, man. They died.
Fuck.
Yeah, but if you get a chance, listen to Ozzy Osbourne. The not Bark at the Moon, but the first album was Diary of a Madman. If you can listen to man, just listen to the whole album. It's unbelievable. That guy, what a waste. What a waste.
Yeah, yes. Send it to me and I'll listen to it.
Yeah, I will. I'll send it to you for sure.
Pretty keen to listen to new stuff.
Yeah, man.
Brian, new stuff to me.
I can send you shit for days, man.
Please.
My Spotify thing,
You're wrapped.
just gave me my year-end thing, and Judas Priest is one of my favorite all-time metal bands, and Spotify was like, you listen to this song 17 times in a row,
and one day,
and you're in the 0.0001% of globally who listen to Judas Priest that many times. So I feel special.
I'm opening my rap now here.
Yeah,
Judas Priest.
Just to see what I've been listening to.
Yeah. Brian, what about you? Tradition? Do you have something that you do?
Depends on what I'm doing. If I'm in a show, if I'm calling, I feel like I try to get up there early and I just try to be in silence and just kind of get in the zone and focus and stuff. Yeah, I usually I sit there, I close my eyes, and I just kind of visualize something that puts me in a good headspace, and I just take a few deep breaths, and I'm like, usually I'll say something verbally you got this, or all good, or just something really simple. It just kind of gives me an affirmation. If I'm backstage, obviously it's different vibe. I just try to check in with specific people that that kind of give me good vibes just in general.
Right.
That's what I do.
Maybe I'm insane then. I'm the insane one here because when I get ready to go to work and stuff, I put my left shoe on first every single fucking time. Because one of my friends said if you don't put your left on, you're gonna have bad luck. And I swear to God, for 20 years I've been putting my left shoe on first. So, now that might be insane. And the other thing is, when we went into COVID and we started doing Zoom, I could not do a class if I didn't have shorts and shoes and socks on. I could not. I just felt really strange. But,
I hear you. Right?
Yeah, right. I mean, something idiosyncrasies. When I would call half hour, there was a very specific. Ladies and gentlemen, the time is 7:30.
Right, for sure.
Just little silly things like
that. I just recall ones that I used to do when I was calling the show. Not just when I was calling the show, but also when I was backstage. I used to call the time, the calls 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, whatever. And before the top of the show, I would say to the cast, hey, have fun and be safe, every time. Because I think it's important, they more than doing the job, if you keep it just as a job all the time for the cast, it kind of turns tough because doing the same show twice every night, it turns automatic, and then you don't do the same. When you tell them to have some fun, don't forget to have fun. They're going to do it differently. They have to have fun. I think everybody has, but at the same time, being safe. Of course.
And within reason. I worked on San Diego's longest running musical. I did it for 2 years. And at some point, the four guys, it was called Forever Plaid. The four guys, which is a great cruise ship act, by the way, they would start screwing around on stage by themselves, just to keep themselves occupied after 5 years of doing the same show night after night after night. And then I would, as a stage manager, would have to pay attention because now they're all like, the audience doesn't know, but,
Yeah. They don't know.
Yeah.
But if the director came back, man, my ass would have been like, he'd be like, "That's not the show I left you with." And I'm like, "Thank God, it's got to breathe a little bit."
It's so interesting to hear that because I've been working in circus stuff for so long that it's like the types of the way you give notes as a stage manager in circus is like totally different because circus changes. It's so much.
But you have to be consistent. At the same time,
there's specific beats, but I feel like theater it's a lot more zoomed in and microscopic than circus because the scale of circus is so large that something small that happens on stage is not as noticeable. So I feel like notes in theater or theatrical type things are a lot more specific and a lot like, oh, hey, you need to take 2 steps instead of 3 steps, or you need to change on this beat, and I feel like circus is a lot more broad strokes in terms of notes, unless it's like character driven. Then I feel like it's more theatrical.
I could see that. But I wouldn't give the note to the trapeze person and say, "Hey, take another half a roll before you."
Well, sometimes you would.
Like that has
sometimes
to be...
you would have to do that, yeah,
really?
Because it depends on if it affects like a cue call, or if it affects safety, or if it's affecting something that is impacting timing or something like there things like that can get specific, but it's I don't know. I just feel like the giving the notes doesn't happen as often like that in circus as it does in theater.
Yeah, a while ago I was working with a theater company, and they were more circus driven, and they were a third-party company that sells the shows to the cruise companies, let's say. And we were about to have an issue within the copyrights because some of the performers, they were doing something different than the product was sold, So we had to have meetings all the time to do. We have copyrights. You cannot change your lines, or you cannot change your choreo because we sold this product to them. They're expecting to see, the cruise company is expecting to see this show. If you do something different, we can get sued for that. So please stick to the product. But that's silly, that this choreo is a bit silly, shit like that. And then, dude, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. Just have fun doing what you were hired to do. Unfortunately, this is how it works. We don't want to pay big fines because you find the choreo a bit silly in this moment. Cannot change it.
And who would change it? Yeah. The actors? The performers would change it, or the director would?
Yeah, the performers.
Oh my gosh!
Like after 3 months doing the same show, twice a night, basically, and then suddenly you see something different. Like, dude, you can't. You cannot change it last minute. Yeah, some difficult performers as well. Fuck, dude.
Without telling anybody too, right? It's like, oh, surprise! Whoa, you can't. That's really
Fuck, people flying a flying pole, and then they just do a drop that was not being done before. Then just do a drop, say, oh fuck you. Basically, if you're calling the show,
what was that?
You get scared. What the fuck, is that right? Should we stop her? Yeah.
Do they take notes better than like actors, traditional actors? Like, when you give them a note, do they argue with you or get defensive like they do?
Oh no, man! Circus people, they're very free. It's hard to give notes. You need to find the way to talk to them.
You got to find the way. I was just going to ask you that. Yeah. You got to find the way. And I did not, that was, of all stage managing things, I did not like to give actor notes because I couldn't win, because I did this one show with 3 women, right? And it was great. And for the first 2 weeks, it was great. And then all of a sudden, I go into one, and they were separated, 3 different dressing rooms. I go into one dressing room, say goodnight. Hey, what'd you think of the show? Oh, well, did you see what she did to me tonight? And I go, and I'd re-listen to it, and I would have a good response. I would say, let me look at that. I'm going to look at that tomorrow, right? And it got me out of the hot water instead of saying, "Oh, you're absolutely right," you know. And then you go into the next dressing room, and she'd say the same thing about the other one. And before you knew it, all three of them were bitching about each other, and I'd say the same note. Let me take a look. I'm going to look at that. And by the next night, they forgot about it, and something else happened. Or you go in the next night and you go, "Hey, that was better, wasn't it?" Whether it was or not, you know.
Yeah.
And then they go, "Oh yeah, it was." Now that you mention it, yeah.
That's true.
How about when you have let's say 20 people cast, and they got so comfortable with the shows that they start to take the piece on stage, you know, making jokes or what's the name of those like little wooden things you hang clothes in the rope to dry? What's the name of the thing? Clothespins. Yeah. Like one of the cast members would enter with a clothespin on stage, and whoever finishes with the clothespin on their hands or in their costumes during the show would pay the bills in the end of the night. You know, and then the audience they don't realize what's going on. But once you're very used to the show, you start seeing them looking around with a pin in their hands and trying to put it in someone else. It's fun for us who are backstage, you know. But the audience like, oh fuck, they just cannot lose the focus, you know. If they're doing that focus and it's not visible, then I think it's okay. You know, they have to have some fun as well.
Yeah, but the stage managers, man, and I learned my lesson the hard way. I was at the Old Globe Theater, and we were in the round, and I was third week into the run, and I'm, getting, places everybody, and I would go to each door, 4 doors, I'd say hi to the actor, and on that night, I looked down the long, dark hallway, and I saw the person going behind the curtain, and I'm like, okay, well, Lee's there, cool. And then I start the band, right? And all of a sudden, the prop person comes running in. Lee's not here. I go, what do you mean? I just saw him. She goes, where? I go, down the hallway. She goes, that was me. And you know what Lee was doing? He had fucking. Oh shit! I hope he's not. No, he's not listening. He had the runs, and he was in the dressing room with his pants down on the toilet. And when he heard the overture, literally, when he heard the overture, he panicked and he came running upstairs, and it got back to my boss, of course, and I'm just a brand new guy at the Old Globe Theater, my second year, and my production stage manager who hired me, who believed in me, called me into his office, and he said, "Hey, what did you do?" I go, he goes, "Why didn't you look?" I go, he goes, "If you don't want to do this the way that we are doing it at this theater, you do not have to come back." And I never did it again. In anything, I always go and I look for places because, man, I mean, could you imagine?
Yeah, I think for us working backstage and stuff like that, we need to work we need to keep the comfort zone. Unfortunately, you can make some different small stuff, but you need to keep the way it is. You cannot change the thing.
Yeah, and don't get complacent, right? Don't you get complacent.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't think that because it's been done. Hey, I got this. I've called every show for 3 weeks. Fine. I don't. I can read the magazine in between cues. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit.
Dude, in this last contract I was doing as a show caller, on cruise ships there's a lot of fire alarms and smoke detectors, shit like that. And our stage was on deck 7, I think, and the booths were on deck 8. And the smoke machines, sometimes the light guy would pump it so much that the smoke would escape to deck 8. And the system we had to deactivate it was just for deck 7. Then, man, I was calling the show, and a couple of times it happened for the alarms. The smoke detector starts to going off and beeping so loud, like just above my head. And I had to talk to the automation guy. I said, dude, also in his booth was pumping, I said, dude, you good to continue this? Can we continue? And the show was rolling, and the audience kind of could hear this alarm, and it was super annoying.
What do they do? They hear the alarm, they start looking around. Are we supposed to go? Are we supposed to stay?
Yeah, it's basically like that. Then the technical director had to call the bridge and say, hey, the alarm went off here. Can you guys stop it because it's a safety concern? We cannot continue the show like that. And then these guys, they would take, I don't know, man. There was a time it was half show beeping the whole time, half show, and we were still calling and super loud above our heads. And people just looking around in the audience. Fuck, what are you gonna do? Let's continue. Let's not. And then would call the technical director. Dude, should we continue? So yeah, you guys good to continue? Yeah. So let's do it. Let's continue this
And do you
way.
talk to the audience? Do you say something to the audience like it's a false alarm? Don't worry, like that kind of stuff, or what do you do?
Not really. We just continue because as it was in deck 8, they could hear it like very quietly, but still they could hear it. And I don't know, man. I couldn't stop calling to tell the audience. You know,
it's really.
Sometimes they are not very on top of the game, so they just carry on. They prefer to do it the easier way than stopping the show sometimes can be very tricky as well when you're doing circles, because people flying and all the automation system, if you stop in the wrong moment, you can fuck up big time. So
Brian,
we have.
What were you gonna say, Brian?
Let's say we have.
I was gonna say that fire alarms are really tricky on ships because the alarms are all isolated, and like because of the way that the ship is constructed, like everything can kind of get zoned off to where even if something is happening on the floor right above you, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not making the floor above or below it dangerous necessarily. So it's like, it seems like a weird thing to be like, oh, we're going to continue even though a fire alarm's going on right above us, but they have everything like zoned off in like specific ways. And there's not really anywhere to evacuate necessarily, because you're in the middle of the fucking ocean. So, I mean, you can go to the other side of the ship, of course, but
I bet that design changed after the Titanic, right? Is that when they did that change?
Oh yeah, it all started, and it changed again after Costa Concordia.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so many trainings about that. It's so annoying. I think I'm over it already.
See? And the challenge with those alarms that go off time after time is that you get complacent and go, oh, it's a false alarm, and it might not be one of these times.
Yeah. We spoke about that as well. Like, imagine if this is a real thing and we're just asking them to stop the alarm,
Yeah.
Our blocking alarm system should stop it, but sometimes it's tricky. It can be scary,
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah. But at the same time, living in a cruise ship and working in there can be really fun as well. Tell me, Brian.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys get to actually do stuff, or like? I did a thing when I was in college. The musical theater club did the Ensenada San Diego thing, and I was the stage manager. But then they're like, "Okay, when you're done with the show, you're going to be in charge of skeet shooting off the back of the boat, right?" And I'm like, "What?" And so they gave each person like multiple jobs. Is that still something like where you do multiple things, or is it very specific and that's what you do and that's it?
Yeah, basically everybody have a safety duty that it has to but it depends on the time. Yeah, it's always related to safety. Everybody has a safety duty. Sometimes your safety duty is just go to your evacuation zone and hang it in there. But sometimes it can be helping people to go around, showing how to wear life jackets, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Brian had
but at the same time, Brian. Me and Brian, we did.
Well, sorry, no, please. I tend to interrupt, so please excuse me.
So me and Brian, we did a contract on a very nice cruise company, and it's just for adults, no kids on board, and it's very different kind of cruise. And at some point, we were taking off the ship, and they were recording the Bachelorette on board. There were 300 people on board, and no shows in the theater. Yeah, the Bachelorette was really fun. And then we were for a week in Le Havre, France. It's like 1 hour away from Paris. And then we were for another week in Zeebrugge, which is not too far from Brussels. And then another week in Ismuiden, which is half hour away by train of Amsterdam. Dude.
Nice.
Oh man!
Nice.
And we had no much job to do.
They were just filming. That we were like parked in a port for a week at a time. So we were just like, so we weren't. There was no guests. We were like, we weren't working. We were just fucking off every day.
That's awesome. Take those when you can get them,
exactly.
Definitely.
And when you can sit down for a week, that's awesome. The tour I was on was like load in, tech, performance, out.
Those
Next
are grueling,
day,
man.
we flew and the dancers were on buses, but the next day, load in, and it was just like we would have twice. We had two shows in one city, and it was, and then during the day we had a rehearsal. It was like, whoo, man, that is a grueling.
That's a lot. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to tour like that for very long. I could do that for maybe like a month or two, but there's no way I could do that for 6 months.
Yeah. I got hired to find a production manager for them. They hired me to find somebody, and there was nobody to go in with 3 weeks' notice. So they said, well, why don't you just go? And I'm like, I don't know anything about dance. They're like, oh, you can do it. And the lighting designer didn't really care for me because I had to fire the stage manager who was her friend and all this drama. And on the first stop, she knew she was going to get me. And on the first stop, they're rolling out the Marley, and she goes, hey, mark out the eighths and quarters. And I'm like, eighths and quarters? And she goes, yeah, you don't know what eighths and quarters are? In front of the whole crew. In front of everyone.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, no, I don't. I just admitted it. And what it is the width of the proscenium, you put the tape measure out, and then you divide it, and at the eighth and the quarter and the eighth and the quarter, you put a green LED light with a 9-volt battery and a red and a green and a red so that the dancers can line up when the lights go off. And I didn't know anything about that. I knew nothing. But she would try to get me.
Now they just use glow tape.
Well,
they just use glow tape, or they spray the numbers on the floor.
Yeah. But it was a cool thing. It's the 9-volt battery on its edge, and they're very tiny, and only the dancers could see them. It was really cool. But I didn't know what the fuck it was. I fake. That's one of those fake it till you make it kind of things, right? And I reluctantly went, but I get to see, some cool cities on somebody else's dime. And it was right when Ukraine was getting invaded by Russia, too. And Serbia is pretty close, and that was, I remember they said, and Putin is talking about nuclear weapons, and somebody on the crew went, oh, and the wind blows this direction. And I was like, oh, God. How do I get out of here? My first plane out of here, the anxiety starts to set in.
When was that?
I know about that, man.
Man, what I was going to say about Brian is that he sat in on a class of mine after we had a shooting on campus, Miguel. And the next day, and the students did great. They had to lock down for 3 hours. It was on dress rehearsal night. Everybody did great. The next day, I had our friends, Lisa, Kim Fisk, and Travis, who were the production stage managers for Hamilton. And when it was in San Francisco, they had an incident happen where all hell broke loose. And they thought there was a gunman inside the theater, and all of a sudden, the actors just started scattering, and Kim was behind the glass at the back in the booth, and she's, what's going on the headset? Nobody knew. And all of a sudden, people in the first 3 rows start jumping into the orchestra pit. Like a 14-foot. Yeah. And it ended up that it was, a man was having a heart attack, and somebody ran out to the lobby, and there was the policeman in a black outfit. She didn't know what was going on, so she said, I think there's somebody. So he goes in with his gun out, and somebody yells gun, and all hell breaks loose. But Brian was in that class, and the next day he's like, dude, you know what I did? Like, when I went to work, I looked where every fire extinguisher was, and like it affected him. In a way that like it's a good thing because sometimes you don't know when something's going to happen, and you
need to know. It's good.
Oh man, and I can't teach him that. I told the students, I said, listen, I can't tell you what even though I'm trained with the active shooters and stuff, unless you go through it,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, your students are probably more equipped than you are. Because they lived it.
I told them that. That's what I told them, and I said, Casey, and this was the first time she'd stage managed anything, and I said, Casey, 99% of the stage managers that are out there do not go through that. And you did, and you're in your junior year of college, okay? So next, I said, what did you learn? She goes, oh my God, right? And I said, perfect, and that's what you're going to take with you. Because you can't, But I wanted to invent something that would keep the doors closed in case of a mass shooter, Brian's like, not another invention. Ideas.
Put it on the list.
Oh my gosh. What? This was a very interesting conversation, and it just, this is what backstage banter is, Miguel. We just kind of start shooting the shit, and wherever it lands.
Love it.
But I did write a note here though about how to maybe how do you prepare for the thing that we talked about at the very beginning about the language barrier and the thing. Is there a way that we can teach people who are going to go on tour in Europe to prepare better. Besides, the trying to learn the language, like through a traditional
Yeah,
way,
I think the way there's a company in the US called Chicago Fly House. I don't know if you
Uh-huh.
guys heard about that.
No.
Probably. They're amazing. They have their automation system and stuff like that, and they give trainings as well.
Oh.
So their trainings are very very nice for people who are in the beginning of their careers and stuff like that, because they teach you, well, they teach you the terminology of the stage in general, but
Uh,
always in English, and it's
uh,
it's pretty standard, and it's really good. I did this training, I don't know, back in 2010, something like that, and I
uh,
never forgot it. It's really good. They
yeah.
they 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 teach you from what stage right is, what stage left is, what the, like, how's right, how's left, and
Uh-huh.
the wings and
Oh.
the flying points. They teach you the whole terminology, and then they do a test.
Oh.
But with everybody on stage, or everybody
Oh.
on stage, or either in the audience, and
That's
it's a
good.
really good way to do it.
That's good. That's good.
I'm glad I did this training once in my life,
Good.
and
Good. I
and
just
I
had.
try to keep this standard. When I'm on stage and we have a new crew, I just gather everybody together and ask the questions. If they know, if they don't know, it's not a problem,
Mm,
of course. But everybody's there to learn as well. So
yeah.
just go through
You.
it and say, oh, this is safety edge. This works like this. When there's something moving, you please call it and acknowledge that it's moving, that you got that something is moving. So when
You're
people
the
get to the
mentor.
standard, they get used to it. Yeah, it's kind of not that I am the mentor, but I did it
Oh, but
once
you
or
are.
twice.
Do not deny yourself. You are, Miguel. If you are teaching somebody, when you say, "Do you guys know this?" and they say, "Oh, tell us," right?
Yeah.
You are a
Well,
teacher. You are a teacher.
I got a new job now. I'm hoping it works. I'm just waiting for my flight ticket at the moment. And I spoke to the technical director and the manager to a call, and they appreciated that. So, you
Yep.
sound like you have good standards, and that's what we kind of missing here. When you come here,
Ah.
can you do some supervising on stage
Aha.
and have a nice approach to people? Because
Congratulations.
yeah, let's
Brian.
see, let's see. I'm excited though. I'm very
Yeah.
excited.
What is the job? What is it? What is it?
I'm automation and stage operations for the Dubai Opera House.
Oh my God,
Yeah, and they want me
dude.
to start now before the New Year's.
Wow.
And
And how long did they give you to
yeah,
make the choice? Like, how long did they say we need you there? Like, how much time do you have to decide?
uh, basically, I'm 1 month in vacation, and it happened in the second week.
Wow.
And yeah, I've been talking to them, and they wanted me to start now on the 23rd, but I said
Wow.
no. There are like 6 years I don't spend Christmas with my family. Now I have the
Oh, good for
chance.
you. Oh,
Yeah,
balance. Good
please
for you,
fly
man. Good for
me,
you.
fly me a little later. Yeah, I
Good
think
for
I'm flying the
you.
26th now. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I
That's
have a few
great.
friends who are there for a while, and I just hear good things. Of course, every place you go, there are good and bad stuff, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
good things are waiting more on the scale at the moment. So
That's
I'm pretty
great, man.
excited to change my life. Working
Oh
on
man,
land.
that's
You know,
exciting.
yeah, very nice theater. Big. They're doing Singing in the Rain now, and
Oh
it's going
wow.
to finish soon. And they're going to start Nutcracker.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm gonna
Wow.
ride for the Nutcracker setup.
nice.
And
Nice,
yeah,
nice,
man,
nice.
it's a big
Congratulations, man.
company.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Thanks. I just get to get there now. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
waiting.
Hey,
Like,
you know what, you guys? I just thought of something, an invention,
Uh
Brian.
oh, another one.
Um, well, here's something. In the training part, I wish somebody taught me about the traditions and the of the country itself, right? Besides the left and right and stage, but in like when I got to Spain and they're like, okay, go to lunch, and after an hour, I'm like, where is everybody? And they're like, oh, we take a 2 hour lunch here, and I go, oh, where?
yeah.
And I go to the restaurant and they're drinking wine, and I'm like, wait, you guys are drinking at lunchtime? And for me, I'm tapping my foot, going, "Let's go, let's go, let's go!" And they're like, "No, sit down and have a glass of wine," And I was like, "What?" So I wish I knew that, but now I do. But each country is going to have its own thing, mandatory, and the entire country like shuts down in
Yes, it
Spain from like
does.
12 to
Miguel and
2
I
or
know about
something.
that firsthand.
Yeah, I didn't know. I had
Espresso
no idea.
martinis.
But I I wouldn't have made a fool of myself had I known that, right? But who teaches you that? And the other thing, Brian, here's the invention. You know, flashcards when you used to
Yeah.
do math, and you'd have the one thing, and then you turn it over and the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Flashcards with photos of what the different things are, like the legs and the thing, and then in each country,
Oh,
it has it has all, so you can go and you can communicate with a picture, and on the backside, it's the
Oh,
word in
nice. And you
language,
just buy that in like a little
right?
oh,
deck.
that sounds
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
right. And no, I haven't seen it yet. Have you? You guys
No.
seen it? Okay.
No,
Well,
no,
now,
no.
okay. Well, let's get it
Do
done
it and
before.
write the patent for it. Yeah.
Before this airs, Brian, don't let this air until we get the patent pending finish.
Got it. Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
an
yeah, yeah,
idea.
Gotta get right on that.
Miguel, this is how
It's
I
a good
make
one.
this is how I make Brian crazy because I come up with a
Yeah.
bunch of crazy
Yeah,
shit.
and then we
some
just
of it
we
sticks.
work on 10 things at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah, but Brian, he would be the perfect guy to do this one because I call him the savant of spreadsheets. He's so like into
Yeah, yeah,
software.
yeah.
Oh my God. I'm old. I'm old, Miguel. So I'm like, I'm not Excel, but I'm like, this thing called Notion, which is an amazing software, and he was so into, and he still is into it, and it does really, really, really well. And he'd go put it in the Notion file, and I'm like, how? And then I go to try to do it, and I'm like, Notion. Okay, if I do this and I do, how's he got? He's got like 7 headings for different things, and I call him. I'm like, Brian, where does it go? And he goes, oh, and he'll tell me. You know what I mean? Like he'll give me, and then the next time I go to find it, and I go after a couple times, I go, hey Brian, I'm sending you the attachment. Will you just put it in the Notion for me?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
I think
he's made me.
it's a skill. Yeah. Some
Well,
people are not
yeah.
very, very into it. Yeah.
Well,
I agree.
we're just all wired differently, but he's made me appreciate it differently, and now I send him like, hey, look at this software. As
Yeah.
we're trying to do things, but he's made me appreciate that part, and I like it. I like it, and that's why I call him the savant because he'll stay up for like hours and just be like,
Yeah, yeah. I know that. I know the guy.
yeah, right. We had an idea for something, and the next day he's like got an entire fucking thing for tour managers, like for the rock and roll business, like done, and I'm like, whoa.
What the heck? Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I appreciate you, Brian. I appreciate you. Miguel, if you were a rock star, we ask this of all of our guests.
Okay.
And what would you have? What 3 things would you make sure that you had in your dressing room that would make you happy? If you were a rock star, could have anything you want, eat or drink. I mean, yeah.
Where's our tour? Oh, where's our tour? Where is it located at the moment? Cold weather, hot weather?
You choose.
All right. Then I would go to a cooler place, and I would have a nice bottle of a red wine. I
From
don't
what
know
country?
what else.
From what country? You like
Ooh.
Italian, red?
I tried a Tunisian one not too long ago. It was really good. But I think, let me change. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Then I would go to the Caribbean. I would be in the Caribbean, and I would have a white wine called Vespa from Veneto in Italy, which is the best. This one is so good that feels like you're eating the grapes itself. It's really, 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 really amazing.
Send us
And yeah, I found one bottle once and I could never find it again. It's a shame.
But if you were the rock star, they would find it.
It's been a great conversation, Miguel. Thank you so much for
excellent.
hanging out with us,
Miguel,
man.
I can't thank you enough, man. I want to meet you in person, and I want to hang out with you, and I want to drink some red wine, and I want to have a pretzel and a Tootsie Roll, and
and I want to try those pretzels.
Brian, take care, my friend.
Likewise, Jay. Thanks.
Yeah. Ciao, Brian. Ciao, Jay.
Bye.